Hello and welcome to the 30k channel dedicated to games set in the Horus Heresy. I'm your host, David Brains, and we welcome back the members of the Battle of Sector 139. We have Ian, Derek, Ed, and Alex. Good morning, gents.
Morning. How we doing?
Really great to have these guys back for the second episode of this amazing campaign we've got for you. Gents, I know you've had a really early morning, haven't you?
Yeah.
Give me some numbers.
I started at 2:30 this morning.
Wow.
3 for me.
Jeez.
3 about the same, yeah.
4 for me.
Because you picked everyone up, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm nominated driver.
Unreal. So, all the amount of work and effort that goes into this, you don't think about the guys driving down to get to the channel here near Huntingdon and they've got to go back home tonight as well, hey?
Yeah, I'm at work tomorrow as well, so that's good.
A lot of work's gone into this. So thank you so much for your efforts again, gents. It's really lovely to have you all back. Let's have a quick recap on what we're doing. Today we are filming Mission 2, which is Episode 2, I guess, and it's called Command and Control, Derek.
Yep. So leading on from the previous games we've actually played, the traitors are 16 points and the loyalists are only 3 points. In this game, we've each added an additional 500 points, and we've also all 4 of us have in fact gained 4 stratagem points to spend as we see fit.
Yeah, so we've got we haven't done stratagems very much on the channel because they're sometimes a little bit harder to kind of get working and make apparent, but the guys have gone for stratagems. I know you've done a really awesome Fire Wasp conversion, haven't you?
Yeah, unfortunately now it's not being used because plans have changed.
Oh.
I blame Ed.
I was really looking forward to seeing that guy.
I've got it with us. Changed his mind.
We'll definitely show a photo of it because it's absolutely awesome. You used the carapace of a Warhound Titan, haven't you? And there's a jetpack in there and a flamer. It looks absolutely spectacular. So we'll put a photo on that, definitely.
Thanks for the likes, by the way.
No, yeah. It's very popular on the post, eh?
I wouldn't mind if we were to go in 2 minutes.
But gents, you've all been furiously painting. You've added, another 500 points to your army?
Points, yeah.
Alex, what have you included?
I have a 7-man missile unit and a 5-man destroyer unit with jump packs.
That's quite tough.
Yeah.
Ed, what have you got?
I've added another Contemptor Cortus,
Nice.
and I've basically promoted a few people, added some Terminators,
Okay.
and a 5-man Seeker Squad.
Nice. Okay, that's cool. Derek?
I've upped my Slayers to the maximum of 15 for Zone Mortalis, and unfortunately I have to take the extra character because it won 1,500 points. I have to take an extra character.
Yeah.
So that's what I've got, a few more Flamers and a full Contemptor this time, with an Assault Cannon.
Love assault cannons. And Ian, what have you got?
I've added a 10-man squad of Phalanx Warders, all with power axes.
Great.
And 3 apothecaries for each of the squad as well, to make them even tougher.
Yeah, that's good. That Stone Gauntlet with an apothecary would be pretty good. God. So we're really looking forward to that. Now, what we've done as well is you've all kind of switched opponents this time around, haven't you?
Yeah.
So tell me who's playing who.
So the first game is myself with my Imperial Fist against Ed's Night Lords.
Mm-hmm.
And the second game is myself, my Death Guard against Derek's Space Wolves.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting game. We've still got the same parameters as last time, same sort of missions, the same objectives.
Yep, same 5. This time it'll be 5 objectives, not 3 objectives.
Mm-hmm. And we've got a really, really interesting board for you for the first one. I've done a double level, which is quite interesting. We're not going to be able to get on it, but it just adds a little bit of drama and a little bit of excitement to the board. And we've got a couple of little hangars with some aircraft in. But it's a really different board that we usually build for Zone Mortalis, just to make these series of games a little bit more interesting. I don't know what the hell we're going to do for the second game.
We'll work it out. We've got a bit of time. We'll sort something out.
We'll have a think about that. This series of games, or the first series rather, the 2 games you had, has been really, really popular, gents. You've put together a fantastic campaign. Guys out in the community and on the internet are absolutely loving it. So great work. I'm really excited to see how this next 2 games unfolds. It's going to be really cool, eh?
Yeah,
So
looking forward.
the only other thing to actually mention is because the traitors have the advantage on the facility, the traitors will be able to open D3 doors per turn without needing to be in base to base with a console.
Yeah.
That's what they'll be gaining, is their advantage of being ahead in the campaign.
Yeah, and that can work both ways. They do have control over doors. They can open it up in previous turns and not close it, and that could lead the way for the opposing force to come through. So it's a little bit about managing the doors in Zone Mortalis. So it'll be really interesting to see how the guys kind of deal with that issue. There's nothing worse than having a door open up other than 8 missile launchers firing through a door. I don't know.
Happened in the test game.
Wiped out 15 Slayers.
And the medic.
Holy hell. So that'll be interesting to see how we go there. But we're back, second episode. Let's get on to the first game. Here we are, first of 2 games today we're filming. We've got Imperial Fist, Night Lords. Ian, Ed, you obviously didn't play each other last time, but now we've matched you up again this time. I think it's going to be a really interesting game.
It's going to be interesting. There's a lot of things which can do a lot of damage in Ed's army.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that can mitigate damage in Ian's army.
It's very much what we were saying, rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah.
Rocks.
The right things hit the right
Yeah,
things,
so-
or it can fluff badly.
Yeah, Ed, you've got a really elite force, haven't you?
Yeah.
Terminators, Dreadnoughts, those Vorax. We saw what they did last turn.
Yeah.
They were pretty good, weren't they?
That's it.
But Ian, you've gone for numbers, haven't you?
I have, yes. Numbers with a lot of defence, a lot of increased toughness with the Rite of War.
Yeah.
Feel no pains from the Apothecary, so I've got a lot of defensible options for us. So
Yeah, a lot of defence, high toughness. You feel no pain, as you said.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of survivability. It depends on the weapons you've got in your Terminators. So you've got a couple of Lightning Claws that are initiative. Have you got many fists and stuff on those?
Everyone's either got a chain fist, a lightning claw, or a chain glaive.
So it's going to be really interesting to see when those warders go in with their power axes, initiative
so-
1. We
Yeah.
might get a bit of a double knockout, or when
Yeah.
the Terminator armor might hold.
It's Tartarus.
We'll see. 5-up's always a bit tough. Any feel no pain in your units?
No, I'm not that lucky.
Yeah,
so
I'm very much a glass cannon.
Okay.
I can hit very hard. There's a ton of plasma in here, but if I fold, I will
Yeah.
crumple like paper.
as soon as you start losing models as
Yeah.
well, it becomes a lot less efficient.
Yeah.
So,
But again, if they do their job, they'll
oh yeah, absolutely.
wipe through you.
It'd be really interesting to see if your Mortis can stare down the
Outranges
fist.
outranges everything in them.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, I can stand 24 inches away and just hose him.
Yeah, and you just got to weather the storm, haven't
That's
you?
it. And this time there's no Grave Wardens, so that's always a good thing.
That's true. They were pretty good. Grave
Really.
Wardens are spectacular in Zone Mortalis. They have got the tools to do the job, but thankfully the Space Wolves have got to face those.
That's
haven't
it. That's it. I've done my job. Until next time.
God. It's shaping up to be a really good game. Let's remind ourselves we've got 5 objectives in this one, haven't we?
That's right.
And they're scored at the end of the game. We've got a bit of a weird kind of C-shaped board. We've done a 12-inch or a 24-inch ring, and then the gents are kind of deployed opposite over that ring, haven't you?
That's right. Yeah.
But the crucial thing about these next 2 games is we're using stratagems.
Mm-hmm.
So, Ian, tell me what you've brought with you.
So I've taken the Defenders Force Organisation chart, allowing me to get access to the actual Defenders stratagems as well. Meaning for 2 stratagem points out of the 4 that we've got, I've got traps, which allow me to put 6 booby traps down, and we'll roll a dice on a see what happens to it. I've also taken a counter attack assault as well. Counter attack. So I've got a unit in reserve which comes on in the enemy's deployment zone.
Great.
So
Can you
bit-
reveal what unit it is, or are you going to keep
You
that
write it
secret?
down in secret.
You write it down in secret.
Okay. What I'll do is I'll get Ian to tell me after, and I'll put it up underneath, so you guys will see what unit has just come up underneath. So that's the unit that will be outflanking into the Night Lord's deployment zone. So that'll be quite a sneaky
A little bit of a sneaky thing to do with. So
just to divert that, because the problem is because you've got such an elite force, you'll have to divert something back that way.
Do I leave something back or do I ignore it and
Yeah, that's
Just-
true, eh?
soldier on?
This is true. So we can see if the Night Lords decide to divide their forces and then meet on the mass troops of the fists. Tell me about your stratagems.
So I took the attacker force org, which allows me obviously access to the attacker stratagem. So I've spent 2 points on the interdiction assault, which means I can basically place a reserve point anywhere I want on the board
Okay.
and bring in an infantry unit through that.
Right.
And I've also spent 2 points on the outflanking one, which means I'll be bringing a unit on from reserve
Right.
into
So
his
it's,
deployment zone.
yeah,
It's going to be tricky, I think, isn't it?
bit cat and mouse,
Yeah,
rock paper scissors.
Yeah.
A lot of things going on, so a little bit to deal with. So
be fast and heavy if the reserve
Yeah.
rolls are with me.
Yeah,
Well, we'll see.
And we also see in normal 6x4 games, when a unit deep strikes or they come via a drop pod, they tend to be isolated away from the main force. You generally then have the entire force of the opposing player taken out the force. So it'll be really interesting to see if that works in Zone Mortalis, because there's a lot more wall sections, there's a lot more things to hide behind. So that tactic might work if you don't come on all in one go. So that would be really interesting to see that. We've got some markers and some various bits and bobs to represent the booby traps and the various bits. I'm really sincerely looking forward to this game.
So yeah.
Good stuff. All right, well, let's get into it. We're going to work out exactly what's in their lists, and then we'll see you at the beginning of turn 1.
1,496 points of 8th Legion Night Lords, led by Praetor Aztoth Nile, using the Zone Mortalis Attacker Force Org and the Rite of War Zone Mortalis Assault Force. The Warlord's trait is Child of Terror. 2 stratagem points spent on Interdiction Assault and 2 spent on Flanking Counter Assault. Night Lord's HQ, due to his earlier successes, Aztoth Nile has been promoted to the rank of Praetor. He comes equipped with Tartarus Pattern Terminator Plate, a Paragon Blade, a Combi Plasma, Trophies of Judgment, and an Iron Halo. Assigned to protect Aztoth comes 4 Tartarus Terminator Command Squad. The Banner Bearer has a Chain Fist and Plasma Blaster. There are 3 Combi Plasmas, 1 Chain Fist, and 2 Lightning Claws. Second Night Lord's HQ choice. Having repaired his drones, Praevian Varkurg Xaviolon is back. Accompanied by his 3 Vorax, 2 with lightning guns and 1 with Irad Cleanser, Varkurg himself has a Volkite Charger and Trophies of Judgment. First Elite's choice for the Night Lords is a Contemptor Cortus Dreadnought, Sau Harkonnen, the Judged. He has been awoken, knowing resistance will only get heavier from this point. He is to act as a forlorn hope to atone for his previous sins. He comes equipped with a dual Dreadnought close combat weapons and dual Plasma Blasters. He also has extra armor. Second Elite's choice is the Contemptor Mortis Dreadnought Clarada Niktu. He's back after his fantastic performance in the first round, still sporting his dual Caries Pattern Assault Cannons and extra armor. First and only troops choice for the Night Lords is 5 Tartarus Pattern Terminators. The Sergeant comes equipped with Combi Plasma and Nostraman Chainglaive. There are 2 Lightning Claws, 2 Chain Fists, 3 Combi Plasmas, and 1 Plasma Blaster. Fast attack choice for the Night Lords is a 5-man Seeker Squad, all with Combi Plasmas, and the Sergeant also has Melter Bombs.
1,500 points of Imperial Fists, led by a Praetor with the Child of Terror Warlord trait, using the Stone Gauntlet Rite of War and the Zone Mortalis Defenders Force Organisation chart. The 4 stratagem points have been spent on a flanking counterattack and traps. Imperial Fist HQ is a Legion Praetor with digital lasers, Paragon Blade, Tartarus Plate, Terminator Armor, and a Vigil Pattern Storm Shield, accompanied by his Tartarus Terminator Armored Command Squad, armed with Thunder Hammers and Storm Shields, with the Banner Bearer armed with a Power Axe. Imperial Fist Elite's choice, Apothecarian Detachment, 3 Apothecaries with Artificer Armor. The Apothecaries will be joining the 2 Breacher Squads and the Phalanx Warder Squad. Imperial Fist's first troops choice is a Breacher Squad with a Sergeant armed in Artificer Armor with a Thunder Hammer and 2 Melter Guns within the squad. Imperial Fist's second troop choice is a Tactical Support Squad armed with Volkite Calivers. Imperial Fist's third troops choice is another Breacher Squad armed with 2 Melter Guns and a Sergeant in Artificer Armor and a Thunder Hammer. Imperial Fist's fourth and final troops choice, a Phalanx Warder Squad. The Warders are armed with Power Axes, 2 of them are armed with Thunder Hammers, and the Sergeant has Artificer Armor, a Solarite Power Gauntlet, and a Melter Bomb.
Ed, Ian, we are deployed and ready to go. Imperial Fists versus Night Lords. Ed, you want the roll off to go first, is that right?
Yeah, correct, yeah.
And you want to keep it, don't you?
I would love to keep it.
Good stuff. Now, Ian, you've decided to not seize, right?
Yeah, that's right. Basically, just to counter anything that's coming through from reserves. So I know he's got a couple of stratagems which do this for him. So I'll just see how things go before I
Yeah.
kicks off, really.
And you've set your booby traps down, and they're indicated by the black triangles that are on the board, aren't
Yes.
they? Okay, good stuff. So we'll see how they come into play. Good luck, gents. Let's have a friendly handshake.
Good luck.
Good luck.
And Night Lord's turn 1 movement. Night Lord's turn 1 movement. I have placed my interdiction assault marker, and it's scattered 6 inches just a little bit back, but I'm still happy with the general placement. With my winner's advantage, I rolled a d3 and was allowed to open 1 extra door. I opened this door at the back of the Imperial Fist's deployment zone. The Vorax on the side have shuffled forward closer to that door with the aim of breaking through it in the assault phase. Everything else has just shuffled up closer to other doors which I intend to break through. With the console that the Seekers were holding at the beginning of the turn, I opened that door that they were standing on, and the Contemptor Mortis has just positioned himself to hopefully get a nice crossfire into that objective-heavy area. Night Lord's turn 1 shooting and assault phase. The Vorax took some shots at the door but failed to take it down. However, in the following assault, they managed to smash at it and take out the door frame. The Terminators on the left did the exact same thing with their door, and the Chain Fist easily broke it away. As always, Zone Mortalis, it's a bit of a positioning chess game at the first turn, just getting myself into position and waiting to see what the Imperial Fists can throw back at me.
Imperial Fist, turn 1 movement. The Terminator Command Squad has moved up to intercept anything that comes through the doors from the flanking assault, whereas the Breacher Squad has moved up and the Tactical Support Squad has moved up to give support to the other one, ready to take down the door in front of it. Imperial Fist, turn 1 shooting. The Breachers have destroyed the door in front of them so they can move up to the next one and take their positions there. The other Breachers didn't really in range for anything else, so that's pretty much it for my turn.
Night Lord's turn 2 movement. Both my reserves have failed to come in with 2 rolls of a 1. The Vorax on the right flank moved over a booby trap. Thankfully it failed to go off, but it is still in place for later turns. They just advanced up the board and are positioning themselves to support any units coming that way. The Contemptor Mortis as well walked onto a booby trap, but once again it failed to go off but stays in place. He's positioned himself to hopefully get some shots onto these breaches that are shuffling up the corridor. The Terminators and the Seeker Squad both walked further into the area holding all the objectives and ready for the slaughter to begin. With my winner's advantage, I was allowed to open 3 doors this turn. I opened 1 in the Imperial Fist's deployment zone, another in front of the Vorax just to allow them some line of sight, and I closed the door behind me. Night Lord's turn 2 shooting. The Vorax ran as they had no opportunity to shoot at anything. The Contemptor Mortis opened up onto the few breaches it could see, scoring several hits and killing 2 of the breaches. The Terminators and the Seekers just continue to run forward.
Imperial Fist, turn 2 movement. The Terminators stay their ground, ready for whatever comes through the doors again, expecting it to be the other Quartus Dreadnought. The Breachers have moved up, ready to take on the Vorax, and the other Breachers are moving into position to take on the Terminators and try and claim objectives. Meanwhile, outflanking, using the outflank assault, the Phalanx Warders have managed to get onto the flank and get around, ready to make their attack the next turn. Imperial Fist, turn 2 shooting. The Breacher Squad opens up with their bolters against the Vorax, not doing anything with it while it's being hunkered down behind that building. The Volkite Culverins behind them, however, being in range and can see them, managed to finish off one of the Vorax that they could see. The second Breacher Squad opens up against the Seekers hiding in the distance there, only managing to kill one of them. End of Imperial Fist, turn 2. I'm quite glad the Phalanx Warders are now on the board. Taking out a Vorax is a big help towards getting rid of the rest of the squad, and no longer as dangerous as they would have been. And it's just down to that other Dreadnought, ready to walk through the walls to face my Terminators.
Night Lord's turn 3 movement. The Dreadnought decided to show up from outflank due to the stratagems. The booby trap that was strategically placed there by the Imperial Fists did explode, but thankfully caused no damage to the Dreadnought. The Vorax, despite taking a casualty last turn, have moved round and are again hoping to engage that Breacher squad in front of them. The Terminators, however, did fail to show up once again. Thankfully, though, at least next turn they are guaranteed. The Contemptor Mortis had stayed still, just as he's got some brilliant arcs of fire onto at least 2 squads, and I can cherry pick which one I want to. The Seekers as well stayed still, as they have specialist ammo, and I'm hoping to fire some of the Strength 5 AP2 heavy rounds. And the Terminators move through that door, owing to my winner's advantage. It opened for me, and are facing down the Phalanx Warders in a tight corridor, which should hopefully favour my heavier infantry. Night Lord's turn 3 shooting. The Terminator Command Squad and Praetor Aztoth Nile, the 3 Terminators that could see the Phalanx Warders, opened up with all the plasma available to them, succeeded in wounding 5 times, however, due to the toughness and resilience of the Phalanx Warder, only brought down 2. I'm relatively okay with this because it means the charge distance isn't too dramatic though. The Night Lord Seekers fired their Scorpius bolt shells into the Breacher squad hiding over the other side of this aircraft, scoring 3 successful hits, but only dropping 1 of the hard Marines. With a clear line of sight, the Contemptor Mortis Clarada Nictu opened up with his dual carries onto the Breacher squad threatening the Vorax, scoring 12 hits, but only managing to bring down 1 Marine. Thankfully, it was a melter gun though. The Vorax opened up into the same Breacher squad as the Contemptor Mortis. With preferred enemy granted by the Praevian after his successful hits, I managed to drag down 2 more of the Breachers. The Contemptor Cortis Dreadnought that came in from reserves opened up onto the Terminator Command Squad with its dual plasma blasters. He only managed to hit once, but thankfully that 1 hit did kill. The other roll did cause a potential hull point onto the Contemptor, but thankfully I rolled a 4-up and saved that hull point. He is now in a position to receive the charge from the weakened Terminators. Night Lord's turn 3 assault phase. The Terminators elected to charge into the Phalanx Warders, who elected not to try for reactionary fire of the Overwatch due to gaining the counterattack rule if they did that. That's a bit scary for me, but I'm still hoping with my higher initiative and this being my Praetor and his command squad, I might have the upper hand in this fight. The Vorax declared a charge against the Breacher squad that had been weakened by the Contemptor Mortis and their shooting earlier. The Breachers rolled for their reactionary fire, but failed, and then failed to hit any of the Vorax on their way in. I then proceeded to roll a 9, exactly what I needed to get the Vorax into the face of those Breachers. I am thrilled with this, as it pins down a scoring unit of the Imperial Fists with a non-scoring unit of mine. Combat between the Night Lords, Praetor and Command Squad against the Phalanx Warder. The Phalanx Warders declared a challenge, and due to the Night Lord's Command Squad rules, I was able to accept that on one of the normal men, leaving the Praetor to attack at his higher initiative of 5. With 5 attacks, he managed to hit 5 times, but unfortunately only managed to fell one of the Phalanx Warders. In the challenge, the Night Lord Terminator with Lightning Claws managed to score 2 hits onto the opponent Sergeant, and 1 wound. Unfortunately, due to Artificer armor, the Sergeant saved. The Imperial Fist Sergeant has then struck back with his Solarite Gauntlet, and due to the high strength and AP value, has absolutely flattened that Terminator. At initiative step 1, the only other Terminator in range was my Banner Bearer with his Chain Fist. He scored 1 hit, and unfortunately, the Imperial Fists made their invulnerable save. The Imperial Fists at the rest of the Initiative 1 stage swung back with the only men in range and his Power Axe. It did manage to hit, but unfortunately failed to wound. At the conclusion of the combat and the pile-in phase, it is a draw. A bit disappointed in that. I was kind of hoping that in the confined space and with the improved weapon skill of the command squad, I'd be able to tear apart the Phalanx Warders, but once again, these Imperial Fists have proved a very tough foe. I'm still in the fight, and I've still got a tooled up Praetor in there, so I'm hopeful once again. Combat between the Vorax and the Breacher. At Initiative 10, the Hammer of Wrath went in, but failed to do anything to the breaches. Due to the breaches' shields, I also don't gain the +1 attack on the charge. They are also a unit of 7, which equaled my unit count size and meant I didn't gain any Night Lord advantage. The Vorax swung and did take out 2 of the breaches. The sergeant of the squad issued a challenge against the Praevian, but once again, same rules as the last game. The Praevian refused the challenge, allowing his monstrous creatures to do the work for him. Imperial Fist swinging back against the Vorax, they managed to pass the fear check caused by the Praevian. With several attacks from the normal men, they caused no wounds onto the Vorax. However, the Thunderhammer then swung and caused 1 wound. Thankfully, being toughness 6 meant he couldn't insta-kill my favoured robots. Winning the combat by 1, the Vorax forced a leadership test onto the Imperial Fists. However, they managed to pass, meaning we are now stuck in combat. Relatively happy with this. They're a pretty nasty unit, and I'm whittling down those Imperial Fists. Again, a scoring unit versus my non-scoring, and he's pinned in place. I'm okay with this. Looking at the board overall, bit unhappy with the Terminators, but it is what it is, and they're pinning a very nasty, horrible unit back, and I still have men in place to do stuff, and again, I'm waiting on my Terminators to show up from reserve and actually be a part of this game.
Imperial Fist movement, turn 3. The Terminator Command Squad has moved to intercept the Cortis Contemptor, ready to charge it in this turn. The Breacher Squad still stuck in melee with the horrific Vorax, ready to try and fight them off some more. The Volkite Cavaliers have moved up to support the other Breacher Squad, which has advanced across the landing bay. Now it's just got a matter of choice between the Seekers or the Contemptor Mortis Dreadnought. Whereas the Phalanx Warders continue to be stuck in melee with the Terminator Command Squad. Imperial Fist, turn 3 shooting. The Volkite Cavalier Squad open up into the Seeker Squad, but because they've moved, they were only hitting on snapshots, causing 1 hit but failing to get through and cause any damage. The Breacher Squad marching across the loading bay opened fire with their 2 melter guns into the side armour of the Mortis Dreadnought, but failing to do any damage as well. Imperial Fist, turn 3 assault phase. The Terminator Command Squad charges into the Cortis Contemptor after it's failed its reactionary fire with its 2 plasma blasters, 2 of them overheating and causing a hull point on itself. At Initiative Step 4, the Cortis Contemptor rolled 4 attacks, hitting with only 1, but failing to wound any of the Terminators. It's now the Terminators' turn to strike back with their Thunderhammers. With the result of that combat, the Cortis Contemptor has been destroyed utterly by the Thunderhammers, and the Command Squad are ready to move on to the next target. The combat over with the Phalanx Warders at Initiative Step 5. The Praetor from the Night Lords issued a challenge, which the Imperial Fist Phalanx Warders Sergeant accepted. He made all of his attacks, only wounded twice, but the Phalanx Warders Sergeant saved all his armor saves and his feel no pain. At Initiative Step 4, the Terminator with the Lightning Claw made his attacks, scoring 2 hits but failing to wound the Phalanx Warders with their toughness 5. Initiative Step 1, the Phalanx Warders Sergeant attacks back with his Solarite Power Gauntlet, causing 2 hits but failing to wound the Praetor. The remaining members of the squad, the 2 Power Axes and the Thunderhammer, attack the rest of the Terminator squads, causing 1 wound, but he managed to make his invulnerable save. The Banner Bearer returns his attacks at Initiative 1 with his Chain Fist, causing 2 hits and 2 wounds, killing 2 of the Phalanx Warders, meaning that the Command Squad win the combat, but the Imperial Fist stand fast, passing their leadership test. Over at the combat with the Vorax and the Breachers were reduced to Weapon Skill 1 due to failing their fear test from the Trophies of Judgment from the Praevian. They opted to use their crack grenades to try and get as much damage out as they can, but didn't roll to hit any of them. The Vorax returned their attacks and managed to kill 1 of the Breachers. At Initiative Step 1, the Sergeant returned his attacks with the Thunderhammer, managed to score 1 hit, wounding the Vorax, resulting in that combat being a draw. Overall, a decent round of combat, some brutal places. The Cortis Contemptor being taken out was great for me. A couple more Warders being taken down by the Command Squad, and just
brutal rounds of combat all around.
Night Lord's turn 4 movement. Being turn 4, my Terminators in reserve automatically show up finally. Using the stratagem I placed in the first turn, they have positioned themselves to open up with all their plasma onto that Terminator command squad that is now in the open after destroying my lovely Dreadnought, and hopefully will score me my first victory point of the game. The Vorax are still locked in combat. Again, even though one of the Vorax is concussed, I'm still hopeful they can finally whittle down those pesky, tough breaches. Clarada Niktu, the Mortis Contemptor, has hopped over the objective just to get a better angle and hopefully open up with his dual carries into these breaches. The Seeker squad has also moved into rapid fire range with their plasma guns. I'm hoping to cause some critical damage onto these Imperial Fists now. Night Lord's turn 4 shooting. The Terminator squad that arrived from reserve has opened up with all their plasma shots into this Terminator squad. With 10 shots, they scored 2 overheats, but thankfully didn't cause any casualties on themselves. 5 wounds, unfortunately, due to the Imperial Fist Storm Shield-esque 3-up invuln save. I only killed 1 of the Terminators. That is not what I wanted to see. Seeker squad shooting against the Imperial Fist breaches. I elected to use their combi plasmas. Due to their ballistic skill of 5 and precision shots, I managed to get 1 precision shot onto the Apothecary. However, it failed to wound. And with all the other plasma going in, once again, the Imperial Fist toughness, invulnerable saves, and feel no pains meant with several plasma shots, I only killed 2 breaches in total. Very disappointing. The Contemptor Mortis Clarada Niktu then opened up with his dual carries into this breacher squad. With 12 shots, he scored 9 hits and 8 wounds. Once again, though, as is the story of this game, the ultra-tough Imperial Fists weathered the storm, rolling an absurd amount of 5-ups with invuln and Apothecary feel no pain, and I only killed 1 of the breaches. An absolutely demoralizing round of shooting for my Night Lords there. Night Lord's turn 4 assault phase. Aztoth Nile has stepped up to the plate and taken ownership of this combat. In the challenge with the opposing Imperial Fist Sergeant, he scored 4 hits, causing 4 wounds, 2 of which were Murderous Strike. The Imperial Fist then failed 1 of his invulnerable saves and fell to that Murderous Strike. The following 2 wounds then carried over and killed a further 2 of the Phalanx Warders. It is a fantastic result and hopefully is changing my luck. At Initiative Step 1, both sides of the Night Lords and the Imperial Fists failed to cause any damage to either side. Thanks to the overwhelming victory of Aztoth Nile in the combat, however, the Night Lords had 1 combat and the Phalanx Warders proceeded to break. Due to my Tartarus Pattern Terminator armor, I was then able to sweeping advance and wipe out the Phalanx Warder. I then consolidated back, and hopefully my Tartarus will be able to get back into the game and cause more damage. In the combat between the Vorax and the Breaches, only 1 Vorax could swing at Initiative 4 due to the front Vorax being concussed from the previous round's Thunderhammer. Once again, the Imperial Fist player Ian, savvy in his command, challenged the Praevian to a challenge, and once again I declined that. My Vorax at Initiative Store swung and managed to kill 2 of the breaches. However, with them still being at the same initiative step, they crack grenaded back into me and killed the Vorax that was going to swing at Initiative 1, stopping it being able to fight. At Initiative Step 1, the Imperial Fist Sergeant wielding a Thunderhammer stepped forward and absolutely pounded the final Vorax. 2 hits, 2 wounds, which I have no way of saving. It also drops that Vorax down to Initiative 1 in the next combat phase. I do lose combat due to the Imperial Fist causing 3 wounds on me, but the Vorax is fearless, so I don't really care. However, this combat, which I thought was heavily in my favour, has taken a very dire swing, and I'm now looking a bit fragile on this flank. Overall feelings about the turn, a bit disappointed in my shooting, but the Terminator Command Squad and the Praetor have pulled this one back, and hopefully I've still got enough men on the board to cause some damage. I'm very light on victory points, but I've still got a couple of turns. I'm hopeful.
Imperial Fist, movement turn 4. The Terminators, after destroying the Cortis Contemptor, have moved into a position to take on the Terminator squad that's arrived from the boarding point. The Breacher squad over the far side have moved up to get into a better position, ready to take out the Seeker squad, and the Volkite Cavaliers taking aim at the same squad. Imperial Fist, turn 4, shooting phase. The Breacher squad, moving across the landing pad, open fires with their bolters into the Seeker squad, causing 2 rending hits and 2 failed armor saves, wiping the squad out, meaning he can no longer capture objectives with anything on this side of the board. The Volkite squad, now with nothing to shoot at, elected to run towards the objective nearest to them, rolling a 2, moving 2 inches towards it. Imperial Fist, turn 4, assault. The Imperial Fist command squad charged into the Night Lord's Terminator squad, with it being the only other unit which can capture objectives to try and hold them up as much as possible. From the reactionary fire, it managed to cause a 1 wound onto the banner bearer, but charging in, the Hammer of Wrath attack from the Terminator with the Storm Shield managed to take one of the Night Lord Terminators out before anything else could happen. The Imperial Fist Terminator with the Thunderhammer issued a challenge, with it being accepted from the Night Lord's Terminator with the Nostrum and Chainglaive. At initiative step 4, the Chainglaive managed to cause 2 wounds onto him, but with causing 1 rending wound, but with both his invulnerable save from the Storm Shield and his Terminator armor, managed to save both of those wounds. Still at initiative step 4, the remaining Night Lord Terminators with the Lightning Claws start slashing away at the command squad, managing to take the last wound off the banner bearer. The last remaining Terminator from the command squad, in the challenge against the Nostrum Sergeant, managed to cause 2 hits and 2 wounds against him. He saved one of them due to his Terminator armor's invulnerable save, but the other one getting through and smashing his skull in. The last remaining Sergeant, withering a hail of attacks from the last 2 Night Lord Terminators, managed to save both of them against his invulnerable save with the Storm Shield, meaning the Imperial Fists won that combat by 1, but the Night Lord Terminators passed their leadership test, remaining in the fight. Over at the combat with the Vorax, the Imperial Fist Sergeant issues another challenge, but this time the Praven actually accepted. He made his attacks, made 2 hits, 2 wounds, but failed to do any more damage towards the Imperial Fist Sergeant, who is now eyeing him up with a Thunderhammer. So initiative step 4, the Apothecary takes aim at the Vorax with one of the crack grenades. He scores a hit against it, but is unable to cause any damage against it, meaning he's now left to the mercy of this Vorax at initiative step 1. Initiative step 1, the Imperial Fist Sergeant returns his attacks against the Pravian, causing 1 hit against him, wounding him, but with no invulnerable save to protect him, caves his head in, killing the Pravian. The Vorax makes his attacks back, only hitting once against the Apothecary, causing a wound against him, but with the Apothecary and his Narthisium, he managed to make his 5+ feel no pain save, meaning the combat gone pretty well for me.
Night Lord's turn 5 movement, with very little to do, as I have taken some very heavy casualties over the last turns. The command squad with Praetor have moved up, and I'm hoping once they've opened up their shots, they might be able to cause some damage to this Breacher squad that has weathered everything thrown at them. The Contemptor Mortis Clorada Nictu has stayed still. I will decide onto which unit he will shoot based on how well the Terminators do. If they cause enough damage onto the Breachers, I'll open him up onto the Volkite at the back and hopefully clear that objective. If not, he'll help with those Breachers. The only other units I have left, the 1 Vorax is locked in combat, and the 3 Terminators are locked in combat. Night Lord's turn 5 shooting. The Terminator command squad opened up with everything it had, 2 shots from the Plasma Blaster and the others using their bolters. Unfortunately, despite a good amount of hits, once again, the Toughness 5, Feel No Pain, Invulnerable Save Breachers did what they were brought to do and weathered all the shots. Now Clorada Nictu will open up into that squad, it's decided, and hopefully we'll start doing some damage in the shooting phase to these Imperial Fist. The Contemptor Mortis opened up with his Cary's assault cannons into the squad. Scoring 12 hits and 7 wounds, one of which was a rending, I managed to kill 1 Bolter Marine, and luckily, despite Ian trying to tank the shots on his sergeant, the sergeant did go down. Night Lord's turn 5 combat. Due to some incredible luck and not being concussed this turn, the lone Vorax on 1 wound has swung, scoring 3 hits and 3 wounds against the Sergeant Apothecary that was left. Unfortunately for me, and somewhat fortunately, Ian decided to try and tank them on the Sergeant. The Sergeant did go down, leaving 2 Feel No Pains required on the Apothecary, and guess what? He made both of them. The Apothecary threw a crack grenade back at the Vorax and failed to wound him, thankfully, otherwise he would have died. This meant I won combat by 1, but the Apothecary passed his leadership test and is determined to stick it out to the end. Combat between the Night Lord's Terminator Squad and the Imperial Fist's Command Terminator Squad. At initiative step 4, the Lightning Claw Terminator swung, and with the Murderous Talent rules of Night Lords, managed to take off the 1 wound remaining, despite all the invulnerable saves of the Imperial Fist. They then consolidated 4 inches and are heading for that objective. This is great news, as hopefully with 1 turn remaining and little on this board that can threaten them, they can at least snatch me a cache of victory points and score me some points in this game that will apply to the campaign overall.
Imperial Fist movement turn 5. With the rest of the army looking fairly decimated, the last Breacher squad, with the Praetor in it, makes a daring attempt and is going after a headhunter kill with the enemy Praetor. So moving into position there, going to get softened up by the Volkites and see if they can do the damage in close combat. Imperial Fist turn 5 shooting. The tactical support squad open up with their Volkite culverins into the enemy Terminator command squad, softening them up, causing 2 wounds, getting through the Terminator armor save, killing 2 of them, with an additional wound on the banner bearer to a deflagrate attack. So they're now softened up, ready to take the charge from the Terminator Praetor, and hopefully we can get these additional points. To continue trying to soften up the Terminator squad, the Breachers and the Apothecary open up with their bolt pistols just before they take the charge. They score an additional hit and a wound, but fortunately for Ed, he makes his armor save against it, meaning they're still up and running. It all comes down to this final combat in turn 5. The Praetors charged in. The Terminator command squad opens fire with its reaction fire, killing the 2 Breachers that went in with him with the plasma guns, but now the combat is about to ensue. The impact hits from the Hammer of Wrath from the Praetor didn't cause anything, so it's down to 1-on-1 combat. Issuing a challenge against Astoth Nile, the Imperial Fist Praetor managed to score 2 hits, 2 wounds, and Astoth Nile's invulnerable saves failed to protect him, piercing with that black Paragon blade. Unfortunately not killing him quite yet though. Astoth Nile replies with his attacks, not doing as well as he would have thought, causing 1 hit, 1 wound, and getting through the invulnerable save of the Praetor. Totally forgetting that I had Feel No Pain from the Apothecary, I made a roll, and the 5+ means he ignored that wound caused by Astoth Nile. The Apothecary himself performing admirably by taking out the enemy banner bearer, with Astoth Nile failing his leadership test after losing that combat by 3. He managed to get away from the Praetor just enough, and he's now running for his life in front of the door. The Imperial Fist Praetor managed to consolidate an additional 5 inches, so he's hot on the trail. The combat with the Vorax came to a climactic end as the Apothecary strapped a crack grenade to it and blew it out, mind you, as it was just taken out by himself by one of the power claws from the Vorax, totally annihilating any trace of that combat left.
Night Lord's movement, 6th and final turn. Astoth Nile, my Praetor on 1 wound remaining, has managed to rally, and he has opened the door in front of him, still due to my winner's advantage from the previous games, and he is making for the exit to get away from these horrible Imperial Fists. I have moved Clarada Niktu behind the Imperial Fist Warlord. He is now going to open up with everything he has into them and then charge them, because if at least I can pin them down, I save myself a Warlord kill. And I don't actually think there's anything he can do against my Dreadnought. The surviving Terminator squad in the back made a run move, being allowed because they're Tartarus, and managed to grab that objective cache and score me something for the end of this game and for the campaign point in total. That's all I have left. Clarada Niktu, who has been somewhat ineffectual in this game, opens up with everything he can into the Apothecary and the surviving Imperial Fist's commander. He tore the Apothecary to shreds, leaving 7 wounds still to save on the Imperial Fist commander. Unfortunately, Ian made them all once again. However, I will charge that Dreadnought into the commander and tie him up. Night Lord's turn 6 assault phase. The Dreadnought charged into the Praetor as I planned, tying him up. The Praetor is unable to hurt the Dreadnought. Clarada swung with 4 attacks, hit twice, wounded twice, but once again, the Imperial Fist made all his saves. The Imperial Fist, due to his own rules, is unable to leave the combat due to our weapons are useless, and effectively that ends the game here as Ian can't leave that combat, and my Terminators are set on an objective, and Ian won't be moving his Volkite Chargers off that objective, so we are going to stop play here and tot up victory points. A well-played game.
That was Night Lords Imperial Fists. Gents, again, you produced an amazing game.
I'm exhausted.
Utterly ridiculous game there.
Yeah.
Utterly ridiculous. Fantastic, though.
Yeah, great fun. Best game I think I've had in Zone Mortalis.
It just swang, and there was so many, like, oh, if that happened, then that could do that, and that could win, but it was such a swingy game.
At the start of the game, I started losing things hand over fist. I was like, oh no, oh no.
Yeah.
And then I started making all my vulnerable saves, and I feel no pains, and I was just... These aren't dying.
I was very confident at some points, and then suddenly, suddenly not so confident.
It just swang, like, you know. It was the Overwatch attack had a huge impact on the game with the reactionary fire. We're going to come on to it in a minute, but your Feel No Pain saves in were absolutely spectacular.
Utterly.
I felt like I was fighting 2,000 points with the amount of points those saved you.
I mean, your combat with the Phalanx Warders was unreal. That was such a great
great
stage combat there. It was fantastic. Let's do the scores before we dig into the units they've brought back. I'm pleased to say, it's always good, we got a draw on this one. So both players scored 2 points for having their objective at the end of the game. You did a great job consolidating onto your objective with those Terminators. Fantastic job. And those Volkites just
opening up onto that command squad.
Yeah, just kept the distance, didn't they? Perfect work. And both of the armies killed 4 units from each side, so which brought you both to a total of 6 points. So congratulations. I honestly didn't think we were going to end up with a draw. I thought we were going to end up with a massive swing, like a wipeout is where I thought we were going to go. But
very much at one point, I was just like, oh no.
Yeah, it looked really good. Ed, let's start with you. You brought back your Mortis.
I did. If the command squad hadn't completely folded under pressure in the last couple of turns, they were coming back after their work against the Phalanx Warders. However, they did what they did and failed me, and my Praetor decided to leg it, as the Night Lords do. So I brought back the one consistent model who, against any other army, would have been taking names, but against Ian's invulnerable saves and Feel No Pains, just did work. He was a solid ground digger and kept going. But and held up the Praetor at the end to stop me losing some more points. So he's back just through sheer grit and no other unit actually performing to what they should have done.
Yeah, it goes back to forcing saves on your opponent does work. The amount of shots you can down, it will force more saves. The inevitability of them failing a save will happen, and you certainly whittled them down with that carries.
Making people roll dice, isn't it? So that's the end of the day. But
in favour to the Imperial Fist though, because. Obviously, in Zone Mortalis, if you rend on a 6, you rend on a 5, but you don't rend against 2 Artificer armor or Terminator armor or Void Hardened.
Void Hardened, yeah.
So in ideal for you, it was perfect, wasn't it?
Brilliant. But again, my force is very Zone Mortalis oriented with all the Void Hardened, the boarding shields, the Terminator armor.
Yeah.
So
your force is very, very flavoursome, and as you mentioned, it includes all those little extra bonuses that you get from using the Force Losing chart, the attacker, Zone Mortalis.
It just synergizes really, really well.
Yeah.
So
with the boarding shields and stuff.
absolutely. And adding the apothecaries.
It brought us beautifully on.
Absolutely. It's probably the first time I've ever used apothecaries in an army, and I'm shocked as to why I've never done it before.
Yeah.
They made such a big difference in that game.
Yeah.
They saved about 500 to 1,000 points worth of models
I hate
from just not dying. They were brilliant. And the one apothecary taking on the Vorax by himself was just
It's good.
sublime.
I mean, when you add, we talked about those bonuses, when you add the plus one toughness to stand next to each other, you've got the breach of shields, you've got feel no pain, you've got the void hardened armour,
Yeah,
that
just-
10-man unit is virtually immovable.
It just becomes a brick in the middle of the battlefield,
Yeah.
which is exactly what the Rite of War and the Imperial Fists are about, especially in the Zone Mortalis games.
Exactly right. It was a brilliant display of a unit. It was fantastic.
I was very pleased with them.
It's really good. It's so, go on.
There was many times where Ed was shouting, "Why won't you die?"
They are fast becoming my least favourite unit in any army. Apothecaries.
It was brilliant, but I also think as well, I think you had some really unlucky Terminator saves. I think you rolled more ones than I've ever seen anyone survive for Terminator 2 ups. It was
pretty fair. That's why I don't go to Las Vegas. I am not known for my fantastic rolls on Terminator armour, I must admit.
Although it was amazing that you guessed that you were going to roll those ones at the same time as
I
well.
suppose it could go that way, yeah.
You did predict them.
You
right,
did
didn't it?
predict them, yeah.
And finally, let's talk about your stratagems. You both took the outflanking counter assault.
Yep.
Mhm.
How do you think that worked?
I think with the board layout, it became very difficult to use that properly.
Yes.
Mainly because obviously the tight corridors with the Phalanx warders got stuck down that corridor. I don't know about Ed with his Cortis as well. Literally, there was only
I
one
only had
place
one
you
way I
come.
could come on, and obviously Ian knew that was going to happen, and so could position properly and perfectly countered that Dreadnought, who could have caused some havoc in the back lines and did nothing.
I think you had a strategy where you could come up out of that that little blast marker, didn't you? I think if you'd got a general conversation, but if you'd got a flamer unit that had popped out there with 10 flamers or 5 flamers, you would absolutely roasted a unit. That would have been quite
It would
cool.
have been pretty cool. The fact that my Terminus didn't rock up till turn 4 kind of... Well, I can't decide whether it was good or bad, because if they'd have showed up earlier, I'd have committed them heavier, but them coming later meant I claimed an objective, so... different game, different on the day, but... that was a good one. I'll be taking that again in the next round, definitely.
Ian, what about the mines?
The mines didn't do as well as I thought they were going to do. Basically, it's on the roll of a 4+, isn't it, that it goes off? But the things it was attacking dreadnoughts, and it just wasn't causing enough damage to it.
You had quite a few that were just duds, weren't you?
Yeah, so... And the thing, obviously, you can avoid them fairly easily once you know where they are as well. So
I think the way they should work for me is that you should be able to, you divide the board in like a grid system, and you get like 6 inches on and 5 inches on, and the other player doesn't know, and then they move. Oh, by the way, you've moved over there.
like battleships.
Almost. Yeah, it kind of makes sense.
You sunk my dreadnought.
Oh, maybe that's a game for the future. I don't know.
There you
Think
go.
about that. So like an artillery firing into a field, a little thing. I don't know.
There you go. Ideas.
I've got too much to do. I think these guys put on a fantastic games. I'm really looking forward to Death Guard, Space Wolves next. Shaping up to be quite cool.
Should be interesting.
Yeah. I hope you like the board. It was a bit of a weird one. I put that little elevated bit on there. I'm not sure what that added or took away from the game, but I just think it made it look a bit different.
It made it look a bit cool.
I've never played in a board like that, and I thought it was gorgeous. It was. There were still the corridors of Zone Mortalis, but there was still that thematic and window dressing that made it. That was the best board I've ever played on.
Great. I definitely made it look as different as possible because we had the weird kind of configuration of last time. This was a little bit more open, but still had some elements in the middle of the board. But we've now got trying to think up something
a bit new for the Death Guard and the Space Wolves. Yeah.
I've got an idea, but I don't know if I can make it work. So we'll have a think. But gents, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you very much.
We will now move on to Death Guard and Space Wolves, and then we'll bring you all back to have a final conversation. Is that all right?
Absolutely.
Good work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Game 4 of episode 2 features Derek and his awesome Space Wolves and Alex and his Death Guard. His dirty Death Guard, but they look pretty good. I don't know, this is a tough one, this one. We've got a very, very heavily fire-powered unit, shooter units, against a crazy assaulty units.
There's lots of assault.
Yeah.
Very quick assaulty. There is that.
Yeah, we saw how devastating those Grave Wardens were in the previous game. I think they're going to be quite pivotal in this. We've put lots of doors, though, in this board.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of moving around. There's a few stratagem points that's going on. But, I don't know. It's going to be a tough old game, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
we've got a similar board to the last game. We've still got an elevated position. The Space Wolves have found a different entry point, haven't they?
Yes. So the Space Wolves have fallen back to one of their breach points after the defeat at the hands of the Night Lords, only to regroup and be ambushed by the Death Guard.
Yeah, the Death Guard are picking their way through this repair bay, I guess. And the Space Wolves have put their Storm Eagle down on a little landing pad, and they're then forcing themselves in. But the Death Guard have got other ideas, haven't they?
Yeah, we don't want those puppies in there.
But you've been aware of this because you've seen the Storm Eagle hovering at the side of the entranceway, and you've fortified your position, haven't you?
Yes. So we've got barricades set up ready, and taking over some of the older mech tech.
Yeah. So you've got Derek's awesome little fire wasp, haven't you?
Yeah, awesome little conversion. So it was supposed to be used in the Night Lords game, but it's been requisitioned and used for the Death Guard.
Yeah. So yeah, for those that aren't familiar with the fire wasp, it's jump pack infantry, and it's got a flamer on it. Or was it jetpack? I can't quite remember, but it can move 12, and it's got a little flamer on the front of it as well. So that'd be quite interesting to see how that works out. Again, we're going to go back to the Death Guard. They've got a lot of firepower. You're running the Reaping.
Yeah.
Your firepower is quite formidable.
Formidable. Just I have to basically stand still to fire it, so it's a slow moving, but just a wall of fire. So
yeah. But the beauty of the Space Wolf, Derek, is your ability to move quite fast.
Yeah. I'm hoping I can just catch him before he manages to bring all those heavy weapons to bear, because in the test game we had, I lost a whole unit before they'd even moved. Yeah. So pretty brutal stuff. But
I guess the critical thing is, though, once you're there, aren't you?
Yeah.
You are stuck in and hacking bits off. So hopefully we'll see how it goes. Again, you guys have produced an amazing series of games, and I'm really, really excited to see this matchup. The board is very different to what we had in the first two games that you came down last month, and it's different again to the one we've just seen with the Night Lords and the Imperial Fist. So we're trying to mix it up and just represent different parts of this sector that we're fighting around it. We are going to go deep into these lists, work out exactly what they've taken, and then we're going to go from there. But firstly, sorry, I should mention, should we talk about your stratagems very quickly? We touched on the Fire Wasp that you've taken. You've got barricades, and there was one final one, wasn't
and the bombs that we saw in the last game.
Yes. And Derek, what are you taking?
I am taking counter assault.
Yes.
And I'm also taking booby traps.
Yes, there's going to be a load of those little triangles on the battlefield, so we have to work out how to differentiate them. But I guess the bombs don't distinguish between...
the bombs don't. They just blow everyone.
Yeah, so we're going to have to be very careful at how we pick our way through there. But we'll see how it goes. Let's go to the lists, and we'll see at the beginning of turn 1.
1,500 points of Death Guard running the Reaping Rite of War. They are led by Delegatus with the Master Tactician Warlord trait. For their stratagems, they have taken traps for 2 points, barricades for 1 point, and a fire wasp painted by Derek for 1 point. They will be using the Defender Force Organisation. HQ choice for the Death Guard, Delegatus Matthias Tide, fresh from his crushing victory against the Imperial Fist, stands ready to lead his forces once again against the vicious Space Wolves. He is equipped with Artificer Armour, a Power Maul, Rad Grenades, and a Refractor Field. First elite choice for the Death Guard is a Quartus class Contemptor, Ash Kent, brought in to replace his fallen brethren from the last battle. He is armed with a Keras pattern assault cannon and a close combat weapon with heavy flamer. He has extra armour and chem munitions. Second elite choice for the Death Guard is a 5-man unit of destroyers with jump packs. 4 of the unit are armed with dual bolt pistols, and 1 is armed with a Rad missile launcher. The Sergeant has Artificer Armour and Rad Grenades, and the whole unit has hardened armour and melter bombs. First troop choice for the Death Guard is a 10-man tactical squad armed with bolters. The Sergeant is armed with Artificer Armour and Rad Grenades. Second troop choice for the Death Guard is a 7-man heavy support squad armed with heavy flamers. They have hardened armour, chem munitions, and the Sergeant is armed with Rad Grenades. Third troop choice for the Death Guard is a 7-man heavy support squad armed with heavy bolters. They have hardened armour and the Sergeant is armed with Rad Grenades. Fourth and final troop choice for the Death Guard is a 7-man heavy support squad armed with missile launchers. They have hardened armour and the Sergeant is armed with Rad Grenades. First and only heavy support for the Death Guard is a 5-man Grave Warden squad. They are equipped with Cataphractii Terminator armour and armed with assault grenade launchers. The Chem Master also has Rad Grenades. Due to their complete level of filth, I will not be using their secondary Death Guard weapon for anything other than Overwatch.
1,499 points of Space Wolves. They are running the Blooded Claw Rite of War, and the Warlord has the Hunger in the Void special rule, which grants him Rage. The Force Organisation chart that has been used is the Zone Mortalis Defender. The two stratagems I have taken has been outflanking assault and booby traps. First HQ choice for the Space Wolves is Elfric Skullcrusher Delegatus. He is equipped with Artificer Armour, Bolt Pistol, Refractor Field and Mastercrafted Thunderhammer. Second compulsory HQ choice for the Space Wolves, Halfdan the Cunning. He is a Centurion equipped with Artificer Armour, Bolt Pistol, Melter Bombs and Refractor Field, and he is equipped with a Great Frost weapon. First elite choice, the Takers of Names, an Apothecarian detachment containing 2 apothecaries. They are equipped with their standard equipment and will both be joining Greyslayer unit. Second Space Wolves elite choice is a Legion Contemptor, the Venerable Brightclaw. He is equipped with a Carey's Assault Cannon, Dreadnought close combat weapon with additional inbuilt flamer, and has extra armour. First compulsory troops choice, Greyslayer Squad, pack of the Swift Raid. In this squad, 5 of the Slayers are equipped with combat shields, 4 are equipped with power swords, 2 are equipped with power axes, 3 are equipped with power fists, and the Huskarl is equipped with melter bombs, artificer armour and a Great Frost weapon. Second compulsory troops choice for the Space Wolves, second unit of Grey Slayers, pack of the Weathered Storm. This pack of 15 Grey Slayers is also equipped with 5 close combat shields, 4 power swords, 2 power axes, 3 power fists, and the Huskarl is equipped with Artificer Armour, Melter Bombs and a Great Frost weapon. Third troops choice for the Space Wolves army is a tactical support squad, the Hall Burners, and the 7-man squad are all equipped with flamers, and the sergeant has a melter bomb, and the entire squad is equipped with additional close combat weapons. Fourth and final troops choice for the Space Wolves is a 5-man Marine reconnaissance squad, the Ghost Wolves. The entire squad has exchanged their bolt guns for combat shotguns. Space Wolf fast attack choice is filled by a unit Seeker squad, the Stalkers of the Duergar. This squad has exchanged their bolt guns for combi plasma weapons, and the sergeant has artificer armour and melter bombs.
Derek, Alex, you have deployed in this Zone Mortalis board. There's a lot of troops on this game today.
Yep, best way to play zones, more troops.
Yeah, that's what Death Guard's all about, lots of bodies.
Absolutely. And the Death Guard have fortified their position with a couple of with 3 barricades, haven't you?
Yes, yeah. Probably not the best places, but they're Death Guard.
All right.
Do.
And Derek, there's a couple of units to come on outflanking, is that right? Or a unit?
Yes, that's right. My scouts are going to come on from their use of outflank via their scout rule, and the Flamer squad, the Hall Burners, will be coming on the enemy deployment zone with a character.
Great stuff. Now, Alex, you got deploy first, go first.
Mm-hmm.
Derek, do you intend to seize? Or?
I do not intend to seize.
All right. So
let Alex go first and see what he's got.
Let's go for it.
Good game, mate. Good luck.
Turn 1 Death Guard movement. The Destroyer Squad move 12 inches with their jump packs. Now, because I'm taking the Reaping, they gain move through cover, so don't need to take dangerous terrain checks that they would normally take. The Heavy Bolter Squad has remained standing. The Warlord used his trait to move the Missile Squad into a better location in the far corner to get a better angle of sight along both corridors. The Heavy Flamer Squad, Grave Wardens and Tactical Squad have spread out behind the barricade just to see what's happening with the Space Wolves. The Dreadnought moved up 6 inches after opening the door. After the Tactical Squad and Firewasp moved, they happened to land on one of the Space Wolf mines. Both of them, however, turned out to be duds and have been removed from the game. Okay, so that's the end of Death Guard Turn 1. One thing we did forget to mention was that due to their victory in the last game, they gained control over the doors, of which they've opened 2, one next to the Heavy Bolter Squad and the one in front of the Dreadnought.
Space Wolves turn 1 movement. The Seeker Squad have opened the door to allow the Contemptor Dreadnought to push up, backed up by the Grey Slayer unit. And the second unit of Grey Slayers has pushed up on the other flank in preparation to push for the second door console, which is just hidden behind the wall there. Space Wolves turn 1 shooting. The Contemptor Brightclaw opened up with his Carrier's assault cannon onto the Death Guard heavy flamers hunkered down behind the fortification, landing 5 hits and wounding 5 times, and the Death Guard lost 3 Marines to the Carries. The Grey Slayer packs have pushed up. Unfortunately, their run moves not being their usual self. The first pack only moved 2 inches and the second pack only moved 3 inches.
Death Guard turn 2 movement. Using their tactical advantage from the last game, they've opened up the door near the destroyers, allowing the destroyers to move through towards that Grey Slayers pack coming towards that objective. The rest of the army has not done a lot. It's playing a waiting game, waiting for the Space Wolves to come into range of their big guns.
Space Wolves turn 2 movement. The Seeker Squad activated a door and closed the door behind the Contemptor Dreadnought, cutting off the potential supporting firepower from the heavy bolters behind, and then pushed forward. The first Grey Slayer squad is pushed out, and they will soon be making a run move towards that objective to try and hug that cover from the heavy bolters and the Carrier's assault cannon of the Dreadnought. The second Grey Slayer squad are preparing themselves and bracing in preparation for an attack off the destroyers and have moved into base-to-base contact with the console. Of all the devices that were within 2 inches, 2 have been duds and 1 is still in play. Space Wolves Reserve, the Reconnaissance Squad, has snuck on from behind in preparation to spring their trap. They have been supported by the Tactical Support Squad, who have moved up in preparation to spring their trap in hopefully what will become a coordinated attack on the rear guard of the Death Guard. Space Wolves turn 2 shooting. The Seeker Squad decided to open up and chamber the Kraken rounds, targeted the Fire Wasp, and out of 7 hits managed to land 5, and of those 5 hits 2 wounded and took out the Fire Wasp quite swiftly. The Space Wolves Contemptor Brightclaw opened up with his Carrier's assault cannon onto the Death Guard. Of the 3 shots it landed, it managed to get 1 penetrating hit, and the penetrating hit was failed by its autonomics armor and managed to shake the Dreadnought, so next turn it will be snap firing. The 2 Grey Slayer packs have made whopping run moves, both managing to run a whopping 7 inches. The first Grey Slayer pack has moved up towards the objective to hide behind the armoured crate. The second Grey Slayer unit has prepared itself for the potential charge of the Death Guard next turn and has spread themselves out in fear of the rad missiles that they carry. Space Wolves turn 2 overview. Quite pleased with the Contemptor's performance, managing to shake its counterpart on the other side. Should make it significantly easier to take down. Grey Slayers on their run moves, fantastic, managing to get pushed right up there. And my counter-offensive is in position, ready for next turn, where they can actually start to come on and start to cause some serious damage on the rear guard of the Death Guard.
Death Guard turn 3 movement. Started using the tactical advantage by opening up D3+1 doors, which turned out to be 4. I've used the advantage to open up 1 door near my flamers, giving a line of sight down that corridor for any potential infiltration or slayers coming down. I closed the door opposite my missile launchers so that any infiltrating units won't be able to shoot directly at the squad. And I also opened the door that the Space Wolves closed last turn behind the Contemptor, giving line of sight to the heavy bolters. The destroyers then move around the corridor, ready to unleash their dual bolt pistols and rad missile launcher at the Grey Slayers before making a charge. The Contemptor moved up towards the Space Wolf Contemptor, hopefully get off some snapshots and potentially a charge, but it looks like a bit of a long one. The Grave Wardens moved up, bringing their assault grenade launchers into range of the Grey Slayer squad, and the tactical squad spread out a bit in case of any templates or blasts. The destroyer squad landed on a booby trap laid by the Space Wolves, which went off with a 5-inch blast template, which unfortunately only caught one of the destroyers. The blast wounded, however, the destroyer made the save. Death Guard turn 3 shooting starts with the Contemptor opening up at the opposing Contemptor with his Carrier's assault pattern cannon. Unfortunately, due to being shaken last turn, he's only able to snap shoot. However, he did hit with one. However, he was unable to penetrate the armor. The destroyers opened up with the Rad missile launcher onto the Grey Slayer pack, hitting 2 but failing to wound. The remaining 4, then using their gunslinger rule, opened up with dual bolt pistols, making 8 shots, hitting with 6 of them, wounding with 3, of which 1 was failed, resulting in a dead Grey Slayer. Grave Wardens opened up with their assault grenade launchers onto the second Grey Slayer pack, getting 7 hits, of which 6 wounded, and all but 1 was saved, resulting in another dead Grey Slayer. The heavy support missile squad then opened up on the same Grey Slayer pack. Only 2 of them could actually see through the gap, hitting 3 of the units with frag missiles, wounding 1 of them, and even with the shred failed to do any more than that. The save was failed, resulting in another dead Grey Slayer. The heavy support heavy bolter squad then opened up on the same Grey Slayer pack with 18 shots. They managed to hit 12 times, wounding 7 times, 2 of which were Rends. The Grey Slayers then failed 1 Rend and 1 normal wound, resulting in 2 more dead Slayers. Death Guard turn 3 assault phase. The Contemptor has made a charge into the Space Wolf Contemptor. The Contemptor opened up with full reactionary fire, hitting 5 times, but failing to penetrate the armor. The Contemptor then made its charge distance. The Destroyers also decided to charge. The Space Wolves opened up with their bolt pistol snap shooting, hitting once but failing to wound. The Destroyers then made their charge easily with a 10-inch charge. Combat between the Dreadnoughts. The Death Guard Contemptor, getting an extra attack from the charge, swung 4 times, managed to get 1 penetrating hit, which results in a shaken result for the Space Wolf Dreadnought. The Space Wolf then promptly retaliated with 3 hits, causing 3 penetrating hits, resulting in a very dead Death Guard Contemptor. Destroyer combat. The Sergeant accepted a challenge from the Space Wolf Huskarl, swinging with 5 attacks, hitting with 3, wounding with 1. However, the Huskarl managed to save the wound. The remaining Destroyers swung with 18 attacks, managed to hit 12 times, wounded 5 times. The Space Wolves managed to make all but 1 save, resulting in 1 dead Grey Slayer. The Space Wolves then swung back with a mixture of power swords and standard weapons, scoring a lot of hits and 7 wounds, resulting in 2 dead Destroyers. At initiative step 3, the Huskarl then swung with his Great Frost weapon, getting 4 hits, 4 wounds, and killing the Sergeant outright. Initiative step 1, the Power Fists were luckily out of range. Only 2 of them managed to get into combat, but luckily rolled double 1s on their hits. Combat results, resulting in a leadership test for the Destroyer unit, which thankfully they passed, tying up the Grey Slayer pack for at least 1 more turn.
Space Wolves turn 3 movement. The tactical support squad is pushed around the side, and the character has left the unit and has decided to clamp a melter bomb onto that door, whilst the tactical support squad, the Hall Burners, is moving around to assist the scouts in breaching the double door in front of them so they can push towards the objective. The Grey Slayers remain locked in combat with the Destroyers. Brightclaw managed to move through and pass his test, so he's now moved straight across the carcass of that Death Guard Dreadnought and is now bearing down straight towards those Grave Wardens. And the second Grey Slayer pack is doing their best to make a fast move around the side to try and mitigate some of the potential incoming fire from the Death Guard heavy bolters and missile launchers in the next few turns. Space Wolves turn 3 shooting. The Contemptor opened up with its assault cannon at the Grave Wardens, and due to it snap firing from the result of the combat, managed to miss all of its shots. The Greyslayer unit has pushed up a 3-inch run move in an attempt to try and hide from the incoming forces of the Death Guard's firepower. Space Wolves turn 3 assault. The tactical support squad managed to clamp their melter charge in place and destroy the door in preparation for a push towards that objective. Dan the Cunning seems to have completely fluffed it and forgotten how to use his melter bomb, failing to penetrate the door. The Seeker squad, on the other hand, managed to breach the door quite successfully and start to make a beeline towards that objective in the centre of the table. The Space Wolves Contemptor managed to make a whopping 11-inch charge into the Grave Wardens. Barricade or not, they're in combat this turn. The Space Wolf Greyslayers continued their combat against the remaining 2 Death Guard destroyers. The Space Wolves managed to land 12 attacks and managed to wound with 6 power weapon attacks, wiping them out. But before the Death Guard fell to the ground, they managed to drag a Space Wolf down with them. And the Space Wolf Contemptor charged into the Grave Wardens. The Hammer of Wrath attack bouncing off the barricade. With his 4 attacks, managed to land 3, resulting in 1 dead Grave Warden. Grave Warden, striking at initiative step 1, managed to land a whopping 7 attacks, of which 1 was a glance and 1 was a penetrating hit. Both managed to fail, resulting in 1 destroyed Contemptor Dreadnought. Space Wolves turn 3 roundup. Overall, relatively happy. Breaching doors is continuing. Greyslayers have been freed up. Very disappointed at the Contemptor's efforts against the Grave Wardens. I did manage to kill 1. I was hoping for significantly more casualties on my part for the sacrifice of the venerable Brightclaw, but unfortunately it wasn't to be.
Death Guard turn 4 movement starts with the Death Guard continuing control over the doors, opening up the door adjacent to the missile squad, hopefully be able to get some shots through onto the sneaky wolves. The heavy support squads, both the heavy bolter and the heavy flamer squads, have made some movements towards the enemy lines. The heavy flamers moving over to the flank, hopefully secure the objective on the right hand side of the board, while the heavy bolters move up towards the Greyslayer pack. The Grave Wardens and tactical squad move through and past the destroyed Contemptor, hopefully bringing their weapons to bear on the Greyslayer pack. Death Guard turn 4 shooting. The heavy missile squad has opened up on the sneaky infiltrating squads over on the right hand side of the board. They managed to score 5 wounds on the support squad and 1 glancing wound on the scout squad. The scout reconnaissance squad managed to make the save, however the 2 that were hit by the missiles in the support squad failed their saves and were incinerated. The heavy bolter squad opened up with its snap shooting onto the Greyslayer pack. Could only see 3 of them, and only 2 of the heavy bolters could actually see those 3, so they opened up with 6 shots, managing to get absolutely 0 hits. The Grave Wardens then opened up onto the same Greyslayer pack. However, again, because of the spreading out of the Greyslayer pack, they could actually only see 1, and only 3 of those Grave Wardens could see. Opening up with 8 shots, managed to get 7 hits, resulting in 5 wounds. However, they were all saved by the Greyslayer pack. Death Guard turn 4 assault phase. The Grave Wardens attempted a long bomb charge into the Space Wolves, needing 10 inches. However, unfortunately, they only rolled a 7-inch charge. The Space Wolves attempted to snap fire their bolt pistols in Overwatch, scoring 1 hit and scoring 1 wound. However, the Grave Wardens made their save.
Space Wolves turn 4 movement. The Scout Reconnaissance Squad has moved in via the breach made by the Hall Burners. They have moved up to the secondary door, which was opened by the Greyslayer pack. Yaldan has moved in and sought cover behind the building in preparation for a potential charge in the next turn. All moving well over there as they push towards the objective. The first unit of Grey Slayers has spread out a bit and positioned themselves better for a potential charge or counter charge should the Death Guard decide to be a bit braver and come more towards me. But for now, they're going to hold on to that objective. The far Grey Slayer squad has spanned out a little bit and positioned themselves better to be in cover to try and mitigate some of that significant firepower coming in. And finally, the Space Wolf trap has been sprung. The Stalkers have come out from their cover after breaching the door, and as their preferred enemy is the Grave Warden Terminators, they will be using their combi plasmas to maximum effect at short range. Space Wolf's turn for shooting. I've elected to run with quite a few of my units. The Tactical Support Squad has moved up in preparation for next turn. The Reconnaissance Squad has moved straight towards the objective. Thankfully not detonating the trap, because detonating traps is at the end of the movement phase, not the shooting phase. And that concludes the running. I'm now going to move on to the Seeker Squad as they target the preferred enemy of the Grave Wardens. The Space Wolf Seeker Squad opened up at the preferred enemy of the Grave Wardens, managing to land 10 hits with no overheats, 2 precision shots on the Toxin Master, which were saved. The remaining 8 shots were passed around the squad, resulting in 2 dead Grave Wardens. The Grave Wardens managed to pass their leadership test on the result of a 4. Space Wolf's turn for summary. I've got no assaults this turn. I'm just in preparation for assaults, hopefully in turn 5 or 6. Little bit disappointed at the Seeker's performance against their preferred enemy, although the Grave Wardens did manage to make a significant number of very good saving throws, so that Cataphractii Terminator plate is quite hard to crack. Feeling quite confident. I've secured a few objectives. I need to try and push around and try and secure a few more. Maybe if I'm lucky, I might actually be alive to cause some more damage in the next turn. But I've got a feeling that I'm going to get hit quite hard in the next phase.
Death Guard turn 5 movement. The Death Guard have finally decided to actually break out from their ambush location. The Grave Wardens have moved over towards the console. The Flamers, heavy Flamers, have broken away from the heavy bolters and moved down the corridor towards the barricade and the waiting scout unit. The heavy support missile squad has stayed still, ready to put some fire down on the Space Wolf reconnaissance squad. The heavy bolter squad has also remained still, ready to open up on the Seeker squad, as have the tactical squad with their Fury of the Legion about to open up on the Seeker squad. Death Guard turn 5 shooting. The heavy support missile squad unleashes its frag missiles at the reconnaissance scout squad, managing to get 5 hits, wounding with 3, but unfortunately the reconnaissance squad made all of its saves. The heavy support heavy bolter squad then opened up with all 7 of its guns on the Space Wolf Seeker squad, shooting 21 times, hitting with 18 of them, wounding rending twice and wounding another 6 times. Unfortunately, through lookout sirs and cover saves, the entire squad was wiped out. The Grave Wardens then opened up with their assault grenade launchers on the Grey Slayer pack. Unfortunately, they can only see one of the Grey Slayers, so they unleashed all 4 shots on him. 1 luckily scattered around the corner, however, only 3 hits were attained. 3 wounds, of which 1 was failed, so 1 dead Slayer. Turn 5 summary for the Death Guard. Overall, a fairly satisfying turn, with the missile launchers not managing to do anything. The heavy bolters more than made up for it by completely annihilating the Seeker squad. The Grave Wardens, even though they could only hit a few targets, have still caused the Slayer squad to now be out of cohesion, which will force the Space Wolves to at least move together in the next turn.
Space Wolves turn 5 movement and shooting. The Grey Slayers have remained stationary, allowing the Apothecary to close the door between the heavy support squad and both the tactical support squad and the reconnaissance squad. The reconnaissance squad have moved around to get out of line of sight of the Flamers. They're more than likely going to get hit, but they're going to have to cross a difficult terrain to get there and set off a trap at the same time. So fingers crossed that will slow them down, and I might be able to kill those in the next turn if they come for me. The far Grey Slayer unit has chosen to reposition themselves so they get their squad coherency back, and the lone man with the shield decided to open up with his bolt pistols onto the Grave Wardens, hitting, wounding, and the Death Guard player managed to make his saving throw.
Turn 6 Death Guard movement, final turn for the Death Guard. The Grave Wardens have made a small movement up towards the Grey Slayer pack. Not really expecting much, but I might be able to wipe out a few with their grenade launchers. The Heavy Support Heavy Flamer squad has attempted to move through cover towards the Reconnaissance Scout squad. However, with a poor roll, they've literally moved up towards the barrier and no more. Stepping onto the trap did go off. However, even though it managed to hit 3 of the Heavy Flamer squad, they all made their saves. Death Guard turn 6 shooting. The Heavy Flamer squad opened up on the Reconnaissance Scouts. However, only one Flamer could see. Could only actually see one and reach one with his Flamer. Wounded, however, the Scout made his save. The Grave Wardens opened up with their assault grenade launchers on the Grey Slayer pack. They scored 7 hits, wounded 5 times, resulting in 2 dead Slayers. The Heavy Support Heavy Bolter squad opened up on the Grey Slayer pack. Only one Heavy Bolter could actually see the pack, however, so he took his 3 shots, hit once, but wounded once. The Grey Slayer saved easily. Overall, the game was pretty stagnant for the Death Guard. Not a lot of movement happened, which hindered them quite a lot. However, managed to pull it back towards the end of the game. We've managed to secure 1 objective for the moment, which I believe we are probably going to hold right till the end of the game now. So overall, not the greatest, but not the worst result I could have expected.
Space Wolves' 6th and final turn. The Space Wolf Grey Slayer squad have remained stationary. They are holding the objective, and at this point it would actually be folly to push any further round. Even to land a couple of bolt pistol shots, I'm better off securing the objective and keeping it where it is. The Space Wolf Reconnaissance Squad have moved round. They're still holding the objective, but maybe I can get some of those shotgun shots off and maybe take a few down and maybe cause a leadership test to break them. Fingers crossed, you never know. And finally, the Space Wolves Tactical Support Squad have pushed up with their Flamers. 2 of them should be in range. Fingers crossed I might catch a couple. We can only see how it goes. The Grey Slayer squad in the far distance have come out from behind their cover and are bringing their bolt pistols to bear on the 2 remaining Grave Wardens. I'm still undecided at this point whether I'm actually going to charge and risk it or stay back and hold that 2-point objective. Space Wolves turn 6 shooting phase. The Reconnaissance Squad have saved their ammunition for this last-ditch effort. They have managed to, with 10 shots, managed to land 5, of which 3 managed to wound, felling 3 of the Death Guard Heavy Flamers, who promptly failed their leadership test and fell back 3 inches. This is going to score me an extra victory point because it's a broken unit at the end of the game. The Space Wolves Tactical Support Squad with their Flamers managed to get a total of 7 hits, wounding 5 times, and due to the saving throws and the void-hardened armour of the Death Guard Heavy Weapons Squad, only managed to lose a single Heavy Bolter. Space Wolves turn 6 shooting. Last shots of the game were fired by the 9 Grey Slayers with their bolt pistols, managing to land a whopping 7 hits, unfortunately only wounding twice, and the Grave Wardens managed to save their saving throws. At this point in the game, I am sitting on 3 objectives quite comfortably. I could charge the Grave Wardens, potentially kill them and fall back, but feel it's too risky at this last stage of the game to sacrifice 2 victory points for potentially getting 1. So this ends the Space Wolf turn 6.
That was the Death Guard and the Space Wolves attacking at the repair bay in Sector 139. Gents, I have to say it was a very tactical, tentative type of game.
Yeah, I was playing for the mission and mainly towards the campaign, and ultimately at the end of the day, we need to seize the caches to try and get some points back.
Sure.
So instead of playing a very aggressive game with the Space Wolves, I played an exceedingly tactical game with the Space Wolves, seizing those objectives and basically sitting on them for 2 or 3 turns at a time. And we'll see if it panned out. Yeah,
it's all about those War of Lies rolls at the end. Alex, I think you struggled to bring your guns to bear, didn't you?
Yeah, it was a bad deployment. Completely my fault. bad deployment, and then just struggled to recover from it. I just couldn't bring anything into line of sight. So, and if I'd moved things, they would have snapshot, and it would have been pretty much the same effort. So yeah.
I think your Grave Wardens probably did the most damage of the game, I think, didn't they? Or roughly?
Even they didn't really do much. They couldn't really bring their full weight of shots against the
I was
Slayers.
steering clear of those as much as I physically could.
Well, they certainly wasn't effective as they were in the first game that we saw them in, because they were absolutely devastating, weren't they? But yeah, it just goes to show, if you can get weapons to range, it's great. But if not, because the Zone Mortalis and the way it works out, it can be quite restricting, which we definitely found with the Death Guard.
Especially when you're using the Reaping and you can only sort of plod along at 6 inches at a
no
time.
runs.
And you're facing an army that can move 12, run and charge and
all kinds of nasty. Yeah,
they were ringing. They
Didn't
were
do it.
running rings around you, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, really interesting matchup as well. A great point that Alex made with the manoeuvrability of the Space Wolves against the kind of relentless, remorseless Death Guard. And you had a ton of firepower. I honestly thought you were going to obliterate Derek when he came down that front, but the two Dreadnoughts knocked each other out.
Yep.
And then I think you struggled after that, but
it was clever use of doors on Derek's part as well, closing doors that I'd opened and just blocking.
Got to force you to open those doors so you're not doing something elsewhere.
And your outflanking was brilliant.
I had to get something on the side just to get closer to some of the further based objectives, because the ones close to your deployment zone, you're going to grab those as quick as you can. If you can get a couple of infiltrating units, or in this case, stratagem or in reconnaissance units using their outflank ability from scout, it really pays off.
I was really surprised though that you didn't put the Seekers into the fourth objective. You ran them forward to take out with the plasma the Grave Wardens, but
it's one of these things. My plan was to annihilate the Grave Wardens. Well, that was the hope. And then pull back and go to the objective and try and tank the two sets of traps that were in that set of corridors.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for me, Alex's saves were fantastic when it actually came to the crunch.
Yeah, thankfully.
Because 10 hits off plasma is nothing to be sneered at, and then walking away from it at the end of it was
did really well with them.
But again, that's cataphractic armor for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get into the units the gents have brought back, we'll just do scores very quickly. Alex, you managed to secure 1 cash at the end of the game, scoring 2 points, and you destroyed 2 of the Space Wolf units. So your total score of 4. Derek, you did a fantastic job. 3 weapons caches for 6 points, and then 3 units to the Death Guard, taking you to 9. So final score 4-9. So really great result. Alex, you brought back destroyers.
My destroyers, they were the one unit that really did something for my army.
They moved the most.
They definitely moved the most.
The jump packs being able to move 12 inches was just a godsend, to be able to move that far and then actually be able to get into combat. I mean, they didn't do fantastically in the combat. It's Grey Slayers at the end of the day, but they did something and it was fun. So,
but the good thing about your Rite of War, sorry to cut you off, it is that because you don't take dangerous terrain checks, do you? Because you got the
I've
Reaping.
got to move through cover, so I don't take dangerous terrain checks. They automatically pass them. So using the jump packs in Zone Mortalis would normally create dangerous terrain check every time they move using the jump packs. I can just ignore that. So
yes, any move over 6 inches triggers that dangerous terrain. But and Derek, you brought back your reconnaissance squad.
The reconnaissance squad, I held them back and then threw them into an objective. It was worth it at the end, and that last ditch kind of popping around the corner and firing off those shotgun rounds. First shots of the game for them, and managing to land those hits and managed to kill 3 of the flamers to force that flamer guy to run away, scoring us that 1 extra victory point.
That was great.
Was well worth it. Didn't see it coming.
No.
But well worth it.
It's really, really good, and they did the job, didn't they? Snuck in, captured an objective, and killed some Death Guard.
And for a 100-point unit, can't fault them.
Brilliant, eh? Good work. So a really different game from the first one we saw between the Imperial Fists and the Night Lords. It was a very bloody game, but this one was a very tactical, and Derek had very much his campaign points in mind, which moves us beautifully on to the next segue.
Yeah.
We are going to get the other 2 guys back, and we're going to go through the campaign points. We've been rejoined by Ian and Ed, the Loyalists and the Traitor players. I hope you'll agree, these gents have again put on 2 fantastic games. One very bloody, one very tactical.
Yep.
And Derek, you needed a tactical turn because it's brought you back on par now, back into the game.
Yeah, that was the overall plan. Maybe I should play Ultramarines. I don't know. Space was way more fun.
So let's quickly remind ourselves what the score was from the first game or the first episode. The Loyalists were on 3 points, but the Traitors were on 16. And what we do now is we add up your points scored from each game.
Yep.
And then we go on to the War of Lies chart for the caches that were secured. So we'll just do the Loyalists very quickly. The Loyalists were on 3. You got 13 points this round, which was absolutely fantastic, which took them to 16 so far. The Traitors were on 16 already, so great work. Plus 8 from the 2 games today, which took you to 24. So it's still anyone's game. Who wants to do their rolls first?
Should we start with the victor of the first game?
There wasn't one we drew.
No,
In which case, roll together. Roll together.
3.
All right, so the Traitors secured 1 point there on the War of Lies. And
-3.
minus
Roll it.
D3. Oh my god.
I love this guy. I love this guy.
Imperial fists
-3
are traitors.
takes us to 13. My
How can
god.
I roll 6s now when it's the worst possible time to do it?
That was terrible. All right, what rolls we got now? We've got some more left, haven't we?
Yeah, so 1 for the Death Guard. So
Go on then.
So another 1.
Gives you another 1. Takes your total score to 26.
Oh, Jesus.
Go on, Derek. 2 gives you +1.
Ooh.
3 gives you 3. And 2 gives you 1. So 13, 14, 15, 18. So final score is 26 for the Traitors and 15 the Loyalists. That was pretty bad. Oh dear. Well, I'm sure we can... Oh, no, have I done that wrong?
18 to the Loyalists.
18, sorry, 18. So 26, 18. So it's not too bad, but not amazing.
No, it's definitely not amazing. I reckon Horace has got his hands in with the Imperial fists at the moment.
Alpha League?
Do you want me to not go for the caches next time? I think that might be the best way of doing it.
That is
Oh,
brilliant.
no way. Unbelievable.
Wow.
Unbelievable. Twice in a row.
Yeah, I think that's just a bit bad luck, really, isn't it? But that's War of Lies, you know. War of Lies isn't massively popular because of that very reason, but it does give that element of you work so hard and it can be snatched away from you at the last minute. But
And at the end of the day, it's campaign points, not actual victories.
absolutely.
So at the moment, the traitors are winning the war,
Mm.
but we can win more battles.
Well, as we've seen, the Loyalists have pulled it right back in one set of battles, so
Mhm.
it's all
This is
happen again.
So, Derek, tell us what we've got in store for the third episode, which will be the final game.
So for the final game, we will be combining our armies as joint. We will have a total of 9 stratagem points per side.
Wowzers.
And force organisation charts to boot. Each of us will be adding 500 points to our armies. So if you want to start with Ian, what are you adding for
So
yours?
for my additional 500 points, I've got a Leviathan Dreadnought to bring some extra heavier firepower and a unit of Cataphractii Terminators with an assault cannon.
Great. Derek?
I'm going to be bringing along a unit of 9 Death Sworn and a Speaker for the Dead and a
Cool.
few unit upgrades.
Excellent. Gents?
I'm sticking with a very plasma-heavy theme. I'm adding another unit of 5 plasma terminators and a Deredeo with a plasma cannonade.
Oh, God. That'll be a good one.
And I'm sticking with the heavy theme of my army and bringing in another Contemptor, exactly the same loadout, and a Leviathan Dreadnought.
Wow. Okay, so there's going to be some serious units in the next game. Holy hell! And we're going to play in a large hangar, aren't we? This is where we're all working towards, is this final hangar to escape out of the complex.
Yeah, get your supplies off, basically.
And hopefully steal some more along the way.
Well,
Yeah,
we could only hope.
We might need them. So yeah, this is going to be a really exciting game. I'm looking forward to going to have a full 6x4 board. There's going to be tons of open terrain, maybe a little bit of line of sight in there, but there'll be plenty of opportunity to get those Leviathans and the Doredos, particularly the plasma cannonade. That'd be quite a nice.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
I'm not. That's a big gun.
Yeah, it's not going to be targeting the Imperial Fists with a horrible save.
And the great thing is that we've got 2 days to film that last game. The guys are going to come down for the weekend.
Yep.
We're going to spend some real good time going through the lists on the armies. Today's been amazing, but it has taken a long time. Ed set off at 2 o'clock this morning.
Yeah.
I think it's now 7 o'clock at night,
Pushing
is it?
7.
Yeah.
How long did you drive back? 4 or 5 hours?
5 hours with a pit stop.
Yes, that's a bit rough. So the gents have put an amazing effort to deliver these games for you, and I think the games today have just been fantastic.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I've really enjoyed it.
I was going to ask you if you enjoyed
Yeah,
yourselves. Yeah.
Been brilliant, Dave.
Again, thank you for having us and providing the
cheers.
boards and the platform to be able to do this campaign and bring it to the internet.
My absolute pleasure. You know, it's all for the benefit of the viewers on the website. So, so great news there. Now, I've taken a ton of photos of all 4 armies. So, if we want to follow you on Instagram and have a look more closely at your armies, where can we find you, Ian?
Praetorian 130.
Fantastic.
And D_rec Instagram.
Deathsane_scar.
And again on Instagram, Zini84 with an X.
Fantastic. If I've done my job, they are on the bottom. I've done pretty well so far. The odd graphic gets messed up here and there, but I'm usually pretty good at it. But so please go to their Instagram, have a look, check out what they're up to. There's also a hashtag, is there not?
There is indeed a hashtag. So if you hashtag the Battle for Sector 1 spelt, so 139, and you'll be able to find everything that we're progressing towards and the painting progress on those units, because I don't think any of us have actually even started them yet.
Not the 5.
There you go.
Okay, cool. So make sure you take lots of work in progress
Yeah,
photos.
it's lots of progress.
I think I've got some undercoats done on my Terminators, but that's about it.
All right, cool.
But yeah.
Good stuff. All right. Well, this series has been massively popular on the channel. So, you know, maybe we can talk to these guys in the future about coming back and doing something a little bit more after their 3rd and final game. But I have no doubt that if we don't get you back for a campaign, I'm sure we would all get you down for a game at some point, or individually separate, whatever.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah, it'd be good to get a full 6 before. We might even be able to do
Some open train.
some big games with these guys. Eh?
I've got a very different army I can break out in an open field.
Oh,
it's good
okay.
fun to play.
All right. Okay. We'll look forward to that. Again, I hope you've enjoyed this game, and we will see you in the 3rd episode very soon.
Thank you.